In terms of what has happened, please tell us, to your best understanding, what is going on. And the U.S. government, the Trump administration, now has put forth an appeal. What's going to happen next?
Thank you, and it's great to be here. So this court opinion from the U.S. Court of International Trade is the first of, you mentioned, many other cases out there still pending. The first substantive merits opinion out of a federal court to really address the meat of the plaintiff's challenge in these various cases. It only reaches these tariffs that were promulgated pursuant to the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Those are often shorthanded as the Liberation Day tariffs or the reciprocal tariffs. But they also include some earlier tariff regimes that were imposed on Canada, Mexico, and the People's Republic of China specifically, having to do with various issues related to fentanyl. So the U.S. Court of International Trade has issued its opinion and its judgment. It has held that these tariffs in particular, that they're unlawful, they will be vacated. And it has given the government agencies 10 days to issue administrative orders that would be implementing, taking the sort of nuts and bolts steps that they would need to do in order to make the court's order a reality. As you noted, there are already appeals that are docketed before the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit. That speed of docketing is very unusual. It's very fast for that court. So what that suggests to those of us in the practice is that the government is likely working, into the wee hours to prepare its motion for perhaps an emergency stay of the U.S. Court of International Trade's order, which way they do have the power to pursue that relief before the Federal Circuit and before the U.S. Court of International Trade itself. So we'll all have to wait and see a bit to see what exactly form that takes, but that is sort of reading the tea leaves a bit where things seem to be headed at the moment.
We need some more tea leaves because do you foresee this eventually having to reach the Supreme Court?
It's certainly a possibility. It's very unusual for a trade case to end up in the Supreme Court, but it does happen. One of the judges on the three-judge panel, Judge Rastani, she handled another well-known set of litigation that ended up winding its way up to the Supreme Court about the harbor maintenance taxes back in the 90s and early 2000s. So there is precedent there. This is obviously a sort of significant area. There's not a lot of precedent on this particular statute and on similar actions by the president. So there might be an interest that the Supreme Court has in taking this up. There have certainly also been similar requests in response to other presidential tariffs under other statutory sections, which are not disturbed by the U.S. Court of International Trade's orders. Those are the so-called national security tariffs under Section 232, or the, let's say, IP tariffs is how they're often shorthanded under Section 301. Those have been challenged as well in the courts. Plaintiffs have made their plea for the Supreme Court to hear them. The Supreme Court has not looked at the Section 232 tariffs, and the Section 301 appeal remains before the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit right now. So we'll see where that goes, but expect the parties interested in those cases to consider that option as well.
So what does it mean in terms of there's that 90-day window where the tariffs are on pause? So what happens now that the court has ruled in the way that it has? What does it mean for this 90-day pause then?
That's a great question. So the 90-day pause, like the rest of the tariffs, would no longer have any effect under the court's order once it's implemented. Again, subject to the questions of this stay. The 90-day pause is essentially an amendment to the original IEEPA tariffs, and the court's order was very explicit that it was invalidating or holding these tariffs to be unlawful, inclusive of their amendments. So that would mean that the 90-day pause in practical terms, would become essentially not relevant because the tariffs themselves would be being undone.